Do you think it's changing?
I think the last 4 years have taught me that if we don't all stand up for what we believe in, then it's not going to change. So even if one person can do that, it's going to start a roller coaster.
I think they need to get on boards like school boards or boards of your sports club and just say no.
Humans as a whole can be loving. I'm a very empathetic, loving person. But guess what? There's boundaries. You can be a loving person, but you can also have boundaries, right? So women in my federation, you can still love a man or let them compete, but there's also boundaries. So guess what, man? You can go lift with the men.
Coach Linda Blade and powerlifter April Hutchinson joined forces to offer solutions to the crisis in women's sports. The duo, both staunch advocates for keeping female sports female, teamed up in the border city of Lloydminster, Alberta for a speaking engagement Friday night, organized by local podcaster Shaun Newman. The speaking engagement offered tangible ways for people to take back women's sports. It was a stopover on the way to Edmonton, where the pair met with Alberta Premier Danielle Smith's team about a recent announcement by the province to prevent biological males from identifying as female for the purposes of athletic competition. Now, for those of you who don't know, April Hutchinson is the Team Canada powerlifter, currently serving a 1-year suspension from competition handed down by the Canadian Powerlifting Union for speaking out against a biological male athlete, Anne Andres, who is currently lifting in the women's class. To learn more about April's fight for fairness and to support her, please go to standwithapril.com. Andres currently holds top spots in multiple women's powerlifting divisions now and has posted mocking and intimidating videos.
Even think about this? Do you have any concept of the fact that all they've done is replace which group they're against? You know they're going to go back to hating you as soon as they can. God, you've deluded yourself into thinking that it has anything to do with me. It has to do with keeping anybody else out of their segregated sports. God, you're dumb.
Now, Linda Blade was one of the first people to raise the alarm bells about how sexual self-ID would lead to gender cheaters ruining women's athletic opportunities. And she is the co-author of Unsporting: How Trans Activism and Science Denial Are Destroying Sport. You can get that book at unsporting.com. Their advice from Friday night in Lloydminster: get involved and become a decision maker in your children's sport and speak up. Take a listen.
Besides being a North American deadlift holder, I just wanted to add in that I'm also a grateful, sober athlete. I'm also a recovering alcoholic. So actually being in here brought me back to, I still go to Alcoholics Anonymous, so this is exactly what it looks like in the AA rooms. So I feel very comfortable speaking and sharing my story, and actually my recovery story of overcoming my addiction has everything to do with why I'm here and alive today, and why I got into sports and how my sports has helped me with my recovery.
So you're in Lloydminster tonight. You spoke to a room full of people. Why? Why are you out here in Alberta even speaking to us? Because it seems like we might have our heads screwed on straight about this issue.
You do. Actually, probably the only province in Canada, thank God, the land of common sense. So no, Linda Blade and I are here doing a podcast with Shaun Newman, first of all. And then we're here doing actually a talk in front of parents and grandparents of kids to basically kind of talk about fairness in sport. I kind of explained my story, what happened with the CPU, and Linda Blade's talking about her little spiel, and basically just kind of spreading the word of how men should stay out of women's sports, the safety issues, fairness, and basically promoting my merch line. And I think tomorrow I have a meeting with Danielle Smith's advisor, which is exciting because I've been working with them with the new legislation with sports coming out. So yeah, it's a busy 2 days.
Linda Blade, good to see you again.
Thank you.
Why are you here tonight?
I am here to meet with people in Lloydminster to explain to them what's happening in women's sports, that there are men who self-identify as women and come into women's sports. And it's actually part of Canadian policy, and we just disagree, and it doesn't have to be that way, and we're pushing back.
Why did you come here tonight?
I'm part of the For Kids' Sake group and help organize for April to come in. And then I heard Linda Blade on Shaun Newman, and just a great pair to come forward and represent women.
Shaun, you brought April Hutchinson to Lloydminster. Why?
Well, first, I can't take all the credit. It's there's a group of us here in Lloydminster for the kids' sake. We've been meeting since early days of COVID, and it's just a really important issue. I got a daughter, and I think there's a lot of families in the area, province-wide. We're a border city, so both provinces, that, we got female athletes in here. Lloyd's really a sports-orientated community, and it's a really important thing that we're starting to see, the fallout continue on as we go further and further down this wild road we're on.
Why are you here tonight?
Because I really care about girls. I have 3 girls. One of them plays high-level lacrosse, and to think about her having to play that sport against a boy is just not acceptable. And I think that girls getting canceled and girls getting discriminated against in their sports and in locker rooms and all the other places that they go is just despicable.
Women's sports are for women and not for somebody who thinks they're a woman but has not the equipment of a woman. And so I said, yeah, I will definitely go.
A lot of the questions from the audience were, how do we do something? How do we get involved? I think a lot of parents feel a little bit helpless when they have a sports organization with these rules that could jeopardize their daughter, but the only other option is to pull their daughter out of the sport, which seems like a punishment to the daughter.
Well, there's a couple of things they could do. I guess would be write the federation. No, I can't really say write the federation, right? Because guess what? That didn't work for me. And I wouldn't want anyone to get suspended. So, I think the best thing is to educate them, right? Like I said to some of the people here in the audience would be to educate the kids. I didn't really get to touch on that tonight, was to make sure you educate boys and girls. I don't actually get to speak about that a lot because I'm always talking about my federation. That's an area that I would actually like to tour around and talk about more. And, I have 2 little nieces, and that's one thing I will talk to them about when they get a little bit older, is to teach them the differences, the biological differences between boys and girls, right? The kids need to be taught that at a young age, that boys will always have a biological advantage over girls. And there's categories for boys and girls for sports for a reason, right? So say if there are sports in schools, we talked about this with the audience today, that, there should always be a female category, okay? So if they do want to kind of integrate boys and girls, just have a co-ed league, right, to keep it safe. So that way you're not if there is, say, a trans kid, maybe have a co-ed league so you are kind of considering their feelings, but always have a female category. So
now, you were probably one of the very first people to speak out about this issue in Canada, and I think your courage has allowed a lot of people to follow in your footsteps. What was it like in those early days when you were noticing the madness and you were being sort of treated like the crazy person for identifying it?
Yeah, I was sitting around leadership tables in Ottawa where I'd say, this is not crazy, we shouldn't be doing this, and we know the difference between males and females in sport, for sure, from the record books, and having people look at you like you're the bad girl, like you should be ashamed of yourself, you're being bigoted. Somebody told me I was breaking the law because I refused to do this in Alberta, and I was president of track and field, and we have a policy that if you're born male, you compete male. You can never compete with the females, no matter what age. And they said I was breaking the law, and I said, well, prove it, and they've never been able to prove it to me. So I was lonely at first. I felt like I was in a bewildering, like Alice in Wonderland, where you fall into a rabbit hole, right, and nothing makes sense. You're thinking, why am I the one that just seems to be the only one who knows what sanity is anymore? But, you run into people, and pretty soon I did find like-minded women and men. So, yeah, it was fine.
What did you think about what you heard here tonight?
I loved it. I have 3 daughters. 3 of them are all in sports. So, and as a woman, I just want a fair play for the girls. Yeah.
How about you?
I came here tonight to just support the future of Canada, and we really have to take hold of what's going on and get through to the community. And the more people that come out, the better the word gets around, and the our children are our future, and we really need to get going on this. So that's why I came.
Are you like me? Do you see the tide turning? It feels like people have finally had enough. I don't feel like Linda and April like being the lone crazy lady shouting in the wilderness. I feel like there are people who normally don't pay attention to this issue are realizing just how pernicious it is.
Well, the first time I interviewed anyone on this, I got yelled at a lot.
I bet.
And I just had them on today, and I remember walking out going like, geez, that wasn't, like, I feel like it's pretty common knowledge now, like, it's becoming more mainstream. So I guess I agree with you. The only problem we face is, like, it's so embedded in institutions, the government, law, and so you go, like, how long is the fight going to take to get back to where we have some normalcy? And I don't even know what that looks like right now. So, like, we have to keep doing things like this. We have to keep supporting Linda and April and others that speak out. You watch Riley Gaines in the States and some of the things that are going on there. And here in Canada, we just got to support people that are willing to step up and talk about it and stand firm in what is right, what is truth on this issue. And so I'm hopeful, but I guess COVID taught me a pretty good truth that, like, there's very few things that happen overnight, and I don't think this one's going to change overnight.
What is the solution? Because, you hear a lot of parents say, well, I'm just going to pull my girls out of sport. But for me, that feels like walking off the battlefield.
My daughter plays lacrosse, and I have to drive 2.5 hours 3 times a week to get her there because there was no girls' team here for her to play at. And it was fine when they were little. She played with the boys. But as they get older, she can't do that anymore because she'll get hurt. And so to make that effort to drive, because I said, I'm not going to pull a 17-year-old girl who loves the sport out of the sport just because I have to drive for her, because they want to play and she loves the sport. And how do you teach them that you need to fight for what you need to believe in, and you play the sport that you want to play because you're a girl and you can still stand up and you can still be strong? And to tell her, no, I'm not going to drive because, it's just a sport. That's part of her life. It's been part of her life for years. And then all of a sudden for her to have to play against a guy when I specifically put her in with the girls, like, that would just be heartbreaking for her because, it's just not fair.
So what did you think about what you heard here tonight?
Well, it was very encouraging. The strides that they're making. I think everybody needs to be more vocal to their MPs and their MLAs and even their councillors in their city.
You talked a little bit about your podcast that you recently did with Jordan Peterson. And one of the things that you divulged to the audience about your conversation was this weaponization of, I think, women's best qualities, that we are compassionate, we're caring, we're nurturing. But the other side of this argument weaponizes it against us because they don't want us to hurt anybody's feelings.
Yeah, like I said, as I've been working on this whole thing about fairness in sport, it's been very frustrating. The definition of insanity, I talked to Jordan about this, is doing the same thing or having the same conversation over and over again. And it's been with women and trying to kind of get through to them, because a lot of these women are my biggest enemy. And the women in my federation actually have been the ones that are supporting these men competing against women. And I at first I was shocked. Now I'm just kind of used to it. And I'm just like, because they're so afraid to hurt the men's feelings. And I understand that women are more nurturing creatures. I'm a very empathetic person, and I did say this on Tammy Peterson's, Jordan's wife's podcast. Humans as a whole can be loving. I'm a very empathetic, loving person, but guess what? There's boundaries. You can be a loving person, but you can also have boundaries, right? So women in my federation, you can still love a man or let them compete, but there's also boundaries. So guess what, man? You can go lift with the men.
So it feels as though we're coming out of the madness. I feel like things are changing. Do you feel that way?
I feel that way completely. Sometimes just before all sanity breaks out, you can feel the rumblings underneath the surface, and meetings like this reinforce that. Every time you go somewhere, whether you're talking to somebody on Twitter, you have a poll, or you talk to a group like this, 80, 90, 95% of the people in the room agree with you, or people you're talking to on the street, they agree with you. So it's just that everybody's afraid to say something. Well, that you can't keep down the truth that long. Sooner or later, it just comes out. People get tired of lying.
Right. I'm finding it is gradually. I noticed at the rally on Monday, it was incredible. I saw so many people there that I haven't seen before. And it's almost like there's more, I'm going to say just love and gratitude and courage. And courage is contagious, and I feel like we all need to keep doing this and showing up for everybody else, especially the children.
It's enabling. It's no different than me. I'm a recovering alcoholic, right? Like, it's no different than giving me a drink. Like, saying, hey, it's okay, just have another drink. It's like, it's no different. Enabling. That's what they're doing, enabling it, right? They're enabling their mental illness.
Tangibly, what's one thing that people can do in their lives every single day to combat this madness of men playing in women's sports?
I think they need to get on boards like school boards or boards of your sports club and just say, no, we're going to have a policy that says if you're born male, you compete male. It's that simple. And just be part of the sport, like the boards, the bureaucracy, the infrastructure. Those are the people that are making the rules. So you've got to get, as a parent, for example, you should just be on your child's, the club board. It doesn't take that many people speaking the truth at that level, and pretty soon everybody agrees with you, and then they all feel comfortable saying the same thing.
Do you think it's changing?
I think the last 4 years have taught me that if we don't all stand up for what we believe in, then it's not going to change. So even if one person can do that, it's going to start a roller coaster.
And I think April's doing that.
Absolutely, 100%.
So last time you and I talked, we were fresh off of Ann Andres threatening just about every woman in the province who disagrees with him, including yourself, Danielle Smith. What's happened to him? Because he is acting wild and I think embarrassing the CPU, and yet nothing has happened to him.
Yeah, so Ann, for some reason, I don't see any activity from him right now. He has seemed to have disappeared. I think he's actually deleted his social media accounts. I do think he's made a new one, though, of course. But he deleted his old account. I don't know what's going on. There's some internal investigation or maybe external investigation going on. But yeah, for the last 2 years, Ann has basically harassed me. He made death threats towards myself, towards Linda Blade, towards Danielle Smith. Never once received any discipline, never a suspension.
You know what she does? She goes out and she decides to take up the mantle of a trans player is hurting NATO people in basketball. On the same week that a minority is killed, that is her thing. And you know what's cool? You know what's really cool about that? The same argument was being used to keep black people out of sports. Oh, well, they're so much bigger, they're gonna hurt our white people.
But I called Ann, as we all know, as the viewers know, I called him a biological man on the Piers Morgan show, and I got suspended for 2 years for saying that. So I'm still not competing. I can go back competing in November, which I still haven't really decided if I'm going to or not. So at this point in time, I'm still pursuing, thinking about legal action against my federation. So I still have actually a legal fund going right now. So if anyone out there wants to contribute, you can go to our legal fund with Rebel News. I'm still selling my merchandise, which goes towards my legal fund as well. So
all the consequences for you and no consequences for Ann?
Of course not. No consequences at all for Ann. They're catering to a mentally ill man's feelings and basically punished me for speaking truth. Yeah.
StandWithApril.com.
Yes, please do.
And the minute it happens to you, all of a sudden you realize, oh, that's what they were talking about. Oh my goodness, this is terrible. So you know what? There's enough examples like Riley and April and different people now that we say, well, it's only a matter of time before it's going to happen to my daughter, or it's going to happen to my sister or my mother or whatever, who is ever in sports. If you're a man, you see a woman in sport and you like her and you care about her, she's a family member, you're going to stand up for her in advance so that that guy can never come in and ruin her life.
And I just want to give a shout out to Rebel News because I haven't given you guys proper thanks because I've been so busy the last year that I don't know if everyone knows they funded my legal fees for fund for my suspension for my lawyer. They've done so many reports and helped me and gave me the exposure that I needed. So thank you, Ezra. Thank you, David Menzies. Thank you, Sheila. Thank you to all you guys. And if you guys, if you want to meet me and all the news people, yes, they'll be there at Rebel News Live on May 11th in Toronto. So come meet me and all the other guys that day. You can buy tickets online. And I love you guys. You're like family to me. And so
thanks, April.
Yeah, I love you.